Hi, Deacon John Wilson here, Education Enrichment Director for West Angeles. A lot of you getting this on my news YouTube channel because this is something not reported in the news very regularly. I could very well put it on the educational page because it does have impact on that. And I thought I would make sure you're aware of things that are happening, you know, that are not being reported in the news, and I don't think will be in this case. It'll just show up and become a law, and you'll never know it. But there's a series of legislations that our assembly is attempting to pass. Unless people don't say anything, they'll go right through because most of them are supported by the ruling party, which is Democrats, and they have an overwhelming advantage in both houses, so they would pass. But I suspect there are a lot of people who, we'll see, well, it's three groups of people, I think, the way I figured it out. See if I can put that together again. There's people who are just opposed to any vaccine or all vaccines, one or the other. I figured it out. Not me. So there are people that will be interested in this one. There are people who, and those people typically don't want any mandates at all, but that's because they're not going to want to take them. So that's not really a serious group, but there's some people like that. Then you have people who were in favor of the vaccine for themselves, but didn't want any mandates. And many of you know that's where I am. I am, given this virus and the science, the current science. I started out being for mandates, but I slowly, somewhere in the middle of the Delta variant, and certainly with Omicron, and this new one that's even less harsh than Omicron, I find myself not being in favor of mandates for vaccines. Wes, we talk about vaccine mandates. Let's not do mask mandates here. Let's do that separately in context of education in the classroom. And then there is this third group that's, took the vaccines in favor of mandates, but that group is the group I want to talk to. Where will you draw the line? This is what this legislation is trying to do, try to tap into that group of people, which probably is about half of you that are in favor of the vaccine for yourself. You're strongly in favor or in favor of mandates, people being forced to be vaccinated. And in fact, you're kind of glad when people lose their job over it. I've heard a lot of insensitive remarks and seen things in social media from those types. And probably you'll be in favor of the legislations that we're going to talk about. But there's some of you I have to ask you, where will you draw the line? Will you clearly violate federal constitutional rights? Will you violate existing federal law and take your chances on the upper courts? Or do you just not care? And again, where do you draw the line? Maybe in at least one of these laws that I propose, there are 6 of them. Maybe you'll draw a line. There's 6 proposed COVID-19 legislations, all brought up in a flurry in a 2-week period a few weeks ago. And they're going to come to a vote. And the way things are in California, they could come to a vote anytime at all. I'm petitioning my legislature now. So I'm gonna let you know up front, I'm pretty much, I'm not in favor of mandates. So I don't like any of these laws. One of them, a tiny bit, but you might as well say I'm opposed to all 6. All right, let's take a look at them. Here's a summary of the upcoming legislation dealing with COVID-19 for the California legislature. And these things could all become law very easily. I've seen them pass things through in a couple hours through both houses if they want to. SB 866, a minor can authorize themselves to get a COVID-19 plus any other vaccine. So HPV, they could get that vaccine without your knowledge, parents. And certainly the COVID-19, where they would not have to come to you, they just go to the child 12 years old and older wants to get it, they get it, even though they're a minor. Okay, so is that where you would draw a line if you're in favor of mandates? Be honest, would you want someone spiking your child with any kind of vaccine without you knowing it? Well, if you are in favor of all mandates, then this mandate's okay with you too. I suspect the people in favor of this mandate are going to be people without children and people who are elderly, who are concerned about the virus. I appeal to you too. What about your grandchildren, your nephews, nieces, children? And is that something you agree with? Is this where you draw a line? If it is, then you should be opposed to this. And you should call your assembly person immediately. We all need to know our assembly person right now. I know mine and my senator, because some of these are Senate bills and some are assembly bills. Good time to know who your people are and drop them a line and give them a call. By the way, I'll put this presentation or link to it down in the comments below if you want to take a look at it. Look at this video, just look below. By the way, why don't you like and subscribe to the channel to get my news information. If you're on my other channel, I put things here I don't put there. So I try to separate my duties. So you might want to subscribe here also. SB 871 is a mandatory COVID-19 vaccine for schools and colleges. That includes UC and CSU, by the way. And I see that CSU is quickly backing off their mandate very quietly. They were mandating returning students to get boosted, and they backed off that. And I don't know what they think about this now. I think a school should be able to figure out what's best for students. Again, I'm not in favor of mandates, so I got to be consistent. I'm opposed to this one. This is a mandatory vaccine for schools and colleges and would apply for K-12 and CSU, UC, all private schools, private colleges. It would also apply to learning pods, by the way. It looks like the way it's worded. There might be some wiggle room there to get around it. I'm not sure. I couldn't really interpret all the legal wording. I do have the wording, please, some of the wording. AB Assembly Bill 1933 is employee and contractors COVID-19 vaccine mandate. So yeah, this is the one where all employers will be required to mandate the vaccine for their employees, and they have to then get proof that they've kept up with their boosters and all their shots. And a lot of employers may draw the line here, because look at the money. You got to hire a staff person to keep up with this, because people are going to have different vaccine situations when they're up for booster, and you got to warn them, then you got a disciplinary action on them. I think you're going to have a separate employee. It could raise the cost of doing business, could raise prices too, but I don't think these people are thinking about this. It's just another mandate. Of course, again, I'm opposed to this. I don't like what's going to maybe happen with some of these small businesses who can't keep up. Or some that have a lot of employees. What about nonprofits? What about churches? Maybe this is where you'll draw a line. Again, on one of these three, if you draw the lines, I'm in favor of mandates, but not this particular mandate. This is what they're doing. They're testing to see how far they can go. The second one was schools. Do you really want to see kids who are 5 and 6 years old getting vaccinated? I think 871 applies to daycare too, so it could be younger if it's ever approved by the government. It's currently not authorized even for emergency use for under 5. And remember, we don't have authorization on any of these vaccines. There's no permanent authorization. I keep hearing that, and it's not true. The vaccine companies have authorized it for use, but the FDA has definitely not authorized these for permanent use. And there's a reason for that, because they have a set of things and time links they have to go through, and frankly, to follow up on the adverse reactions that are reported in the various database. I don't think they've had enough time to do that, and I don't foresee in the near future a quick approval of these vaccines. That's why a lot of institutions have backed off of the original mandate after the Supreme Court ruled that OSHA could not enforce those. That's getting off the subject. The question is, are any of these three where you would draw the line? Assembly Bill 2539, maybe this is where you draw a line. The vaccine is required to receive any service. All right, this one before was employers, and it requires employers to assure the vaccination of everyone that works for them, and includes contractors. But this one is all about, it makes the restaurants, that's a service. They will not serve anyone unless they're vaccinated. Already you have that in LA City, but you don't have it in Orange County. You don't have it in Long Beach. I'm in and out of restaurants. I don't have to do it here in Long Beach. Pasadena, you don't have it. But in San Francisco, Los Angeles, other big cities in the United States, you do have it. And if you believe that a restaurant should, again, hire staff to check this, theater owners to check this, shows, Broadway shows, shows downtown, as it says, any service, to receive any service, got to be vaccinated. By the way, under one of these two, if you have outside help coming in to cut your yard or clean your house, I think you got to make sure they're vaccinated under this law. This is a state law. Remember that. Again, we're trying to find out where is too far for you with mandates. Remember, if you're in that third group, you're in favor of mandates. Is there a line you would not go across? Okay. Assembly Bill 1797. This is the fifth of six. I got one more coming. It's the development of a state COVID-19 database, immunization database. This one is creepy to me. It means the government will know who's been vaccinated and who hasn't, and could probably take action against those people. Maybe you have fines. Maybe they can arrest you. I don't know. Maybe you get a ticket. I don't know, but they'll know. And it also means that people can query the database, and so be public, and see if you've been vaccinated. They'll know your business. I can't understand why this is not a violation of HIPAA. Maybe one of you parents who knows HIPAA law and knows HR can tell me that. Why is this not a violation of HIPAA? I think it is. I think when people can see your medical records and then know it's your name on them, I just think that that's a violation of HIPAA. I'm sorry. And don't tell me they might have a number on it they can't tell. If they know your birth date, they can tell. Also, they can require you to give your number. I don't like this one. I don't like any kind of databases where they know who you are. I'm not comfortable with that at all. And I'm not a conspiracy theorist. All right, so if you think AB 1797 is too far, and maybe there may be multiple of these you think could go too far, I need you to call your representative up, write them an email, tell them you're opposed to it, and remind them when it comes up for a vote. You can keep track of it. You can ask them to tell you when it's come up for a vote. You can let them know you're concerned. I'm getting to my people tomorrow. I wanted to do it today because I know it could come up for a vote anytime they could decide to push one of these. And the media is not reporting these. I didn't get these out of a newspaper. I didn't. Well, how did I? You might wonder, well, how did you know? I knew because someone told me it was happening, and I checked and they were right. And then I went to a meeting and got more information. But it's not in the newspapers. No newspapers reporting this. Not even the more conservative journals like the Orange County Register or the Long Beach Press Telegram. None of those are reporting it. I don't know what to tell you. So if you think 1797 goes too far, then you're bound to, you're not really in favor of all mandates, because there's a mandate they might come up with that you don't agree with. Where will you draw the line? Remember, there are three groups. One group doesn't want any vaccines, don't want any mandates, any vaccines. That's your anti-vaxxer. Just because someone doesn't want to do the COVID vaccine doesn't mean they're anti-vaxxer. Like me, for example, I'm in favor of mandates for the MMR ones that were for years vaccinating our children in schools. They've had years of data. They're not different than this current vaccine we have. And they're all approved by the government, fully approved, with very no adverse reactions at all. This one's a little different. It required them to change the definition of the vaccine. It was so different. But that's not the subject of this video. So there's three groups. I'm saying if you're in that third group, First group was don't want vaccines of any kind. You're an anti-vaxxer. That means you're against mandates. No problem. I have a problem with that individual. I personally don't think that's good science for to say all the vaccines are bad. And then you have the second group, which I'm in, where I got the vaccines. I'm fully boosted. I might go for the next booster too. We'll see. Maybe it's not even required. Uh, but I don't think it should be mandated at all. As a man of God, I have trouble with that, telling people what to do with their bodies. Now, this is not Ebola, which will kill half the people to get it. This virus, for people that are below the age of 60, I believe, is 0.002% death rate. Of course, above that, it goes up to 2 and 3% of people who get it. I think the very elderly, 4%. Those still are not high enough percentages. Nobody wants to get sick. Come on now. But to say that this vaccine is going to prevent them from getting sick is also flawed, especially with Omicron, which apparently can get around the vaccine. I know many people who got it, even though they're fully boosted. All right, so how far we go in that third group of people? Let's say third group of people are people who are against this vaccine and against these mandates. Actually, third group is many of you who are listening to this, who you took the vaccine, you want to be mandated for everyone. If somehow you feel that you've heard in the science that we'll all be safer if you get it, the vaccine, if everybody gets it. So you have no problem with forcing people. So that group's no problem. I respect you too. I love you too. But where will you draw the line? I have to ask the group. Is it one of these five? Let's go to the sixth one, which is AB 2098. It will discipline doctors for sharing COVID-19 misinformation as determined by a public health board. Let's see if I can speak about the word misinformation. It didn't say disinformation, where doctors would consciously be giving you the wrong information. And maybe knowing or unknowing, but they know they give you the wrong information, they want to kill you or whatever. That's disinformation. Misinformation is when, if I don't agree with something you say as a fact, because I just don't know about it or don't accept it, I can just label it in the way we're canceling people now. That's how we cancel people. We do it with misinformation. And the information could be actually true. Like, for example, there are some drugs who've been approved 20, 30, and 40 years ago that have been effective on thousands of people who had COVID. NIH has said, yeah, we don't have any problem with them either way. The CDC won't allow it. And so the doctors have said a doctor can't prescribe it. I think it's interesting that NIH has not taken a clear position on ivermectin and a couple of the other drugs. I can't remember them all. But you can get them from a doctor in some states, because in some states, they let doctors can always prescribe off-label medications for patients. I've gotten some off-label medications for conditions that I had early in the type 2 diabetes. He couldn't get me in a trial group. He gave me a medication that's since then been approved. He was able to get it for me. Doctors can do that. They assume they have liability insurance and all that. But just reminder that the vaccine, there's no liability insurance, no liability at all. And that is another difference with certain other vaccines. But anyway, your doctor can't give you advice that's not approved by a central board. And that's entering in between the patient and the doctor. And that's also a HIPAA violation. So I'm quite surprised that AB 2098, I'm surprised if it will not also be a HIPAA violation ultimately. Again, these 6 are all provided. I'm done now. All provided to give you an idea, all right, of where will you draw the line if you're against mandates? Because each one of them is a separate mandate dealing with COVID-19. Now, in these other slides, I have information, like, for example, on the first one, which was the minors being able to get vaccines, authorize themselves. There's the actual wording of the bill. There it is. I have the receipts. I have the proof that these bills are in the works. A minor 12 years of age or older may consent to a vaccine that is approved by the FDA. Now, approved is an interesting word. They could say approved for emergency use. They could say right now they can do it. They're approved for emergency use. Because remember, we're in a state of emergency. They can still say it's, that's why a lot of people feel that they won't relieve the emergency use provision, because these pharmaceutical companies might have some vested interest in continuing to sell vaccines. Who knows? I don't know. I don't know either way. I don't know, but I just know that it says approved. It doesn't say emergency use is a type of usage that's not authorized. It doesn't say that at all. Okay. All right. Sorry about that, everyone. The next one is SB 871, mandatory vaccine for schools. There's the wording of that. You can see includes all level of school, like I said, development centers, daycare home, nursery school. You can see them all here. Where is it at here? Any institute, people of any public or private elementary school. Somewhere else in there later on, it says CSU and UC. They also fall under this. Okay. Again, if you click on the bottom there, you can get a copy of this. Here's the employer and contractors vaccine mandate. There's the exact wording of it, where they're requiring every employer or independent contractor has to comply with these provisions, require the employer to affirm that each one is complying, right? Complying with the vaccine requirements down here. Okay, so you can see that that's what that's all about. You can click and read all these. And here's the one to get any service, right? Right, a public or private entity that adopts and enforces any order, ordinance, public policy, regulation, rule, or so if you have to enforce any state rule, and almost every business does, even if it's just taxes, sales taxes, right? Then they have to require documentation for vaccine status for COVID-19. That's how they come at it. Okay, coming together doing that. And here's the immunity database. That's how we get to that, right? Any public or private entity adopts and enforces the order, ordinance, public, some of the measure requires members of the public to provide documentation as condition to receive a service. And then it sets up a database for it in another section there. And here is section 2270 of the Business Professional Code, which they attempt to explain misinformation. And that's going to be the toughest one to enforce. But I think they're going to go for it anyway to try to scare doctors. For they're already scared enough. They just let people, if they're sick, they don't prescribe. Yeah, COVID's the only, I'm gonna say serious, they call it serious, I'm gonna call it serious disease, that they just send you home and tell you to rest and hope you get better. They said, when you can't breathe, call us up. A lot of people have gone home and ended up back in the emergency room, especially above a certain age. They're not giving, and if you have a weakened immune system, they're not giving you any medication. Now, there's some talk about more therapeutics, which if you get therapeutics that work, then to me that chips away at the need for the vaccine. So a lot of it's not understandable, but maybe you think this is going too far when they tell your doctor what to do, get between you and your doctor, and you want a certain medication because you might die. Yet you're prevented from getting that medication. You might think this is going too far to discipline the doctors for sharing information that will help. Or maybe you think it's okay. Maybe you think doctors shouldn't be treating this. If I get vaccinated, they won't get sick. But as you know, people still get COVID when they have the vaccine. All right, I hope that helps. I'll take us back to the first one again, I guess. I could go there. Again, to summarize these again one more time. There they are, 6 of them. Copy these down, get a hold of your representative, and I hope that will help you. I thought I'd give you a preview of what's coming, because I'm sure the media is not going to cover it. God bless you. Thank you. Bye-bye now.